Welcome to the third part of this review of the work of the Denis Hurley Centre in 2022. This is the part which deals with numbers. Because we need to learn and manage not just through stories, not just through encounters with people, but also through the numbers that we collect and the quality of our financial accounting, I hope is a credit to how well we work as an organisation. In 2022, we raised 5.4 million rand, and as has been true in previous years, the vast majority of that was spent on staffing. Even though we do not pay very high salaries and we rely heavily on volunteers, we still do have a set of staff that we need to pay, and that was over 60% of what we spent. And you'll see the other areas of spend are also significant, particularly supplies and medicine and utilities, and the cost of our utilities continues to go up steadily from year to year. The percentages of how we're spending the money doesn't change that much, just the rand amount, and you'll see how it's gone up step by step over the years, with a small drop in 2020 because of COVID. Certain services were reduced, which cut down on some costs, but we've been climbing up again, and the 2023 budget is another increase on the previous year, which means as our costs go up, our need to raise money goes up. And where does that money come from? Well, about a third of it comes from individuals in South Africa. A percentage from Emmanuel Cathedral, both the amount they contribute towards their use of the building, less so from collections as their own collection income has gone down. Our venue hire is doing very well as a source of income, and that's really wonderful. And other faith organisations and South African organisations and corporates. Fundraising activities themselves have been tiny because of the difficulties of organising events because of COVID restrictions that have still continued. And then you'll see about 12% of our money comes from overseas organisations and overseas individuals, but also a part of our money comes from government, the financial equivalent of the government medicines that we receive from the Department of Health. Those are the only gifts in kind that we actually try to monetize, but there are many, many other gifts in kind that we receive. We're delighted that Boxer Stores, for example, have been very generous in giving us food or giving us vouchers to buy food to supplement the donations we get. We had a number of great new donors in 2022. I mentioned earlier Siya Kolisi, the Siya Kolisi Foundation were regular donors of food for the year. And a number of new partners, for example, the Hollywood Foundation, linked to the Hollywood Vets organization, were donors of food, but have also now become very involved in our program. It's fascinating because of the amount of food that's donated. When we look at the 161,000 meals that we served in 2022, how much we ended up spending on ingredients. In the past, when I did that calculation, about 10 cents, 10 South African cents, that's the equivalent of 1 US cent, was being spent on each meal we served. But actually, in 2022, it was down to 3 cents for each meal served, an extraordinarily tiny amount. And it's a credit to the generosity of our various food donors that we didn't have to spend much more than that, and yet we're still able to serve 161,000 meals. We learn through numbers, but we also learn through the arts. And we're delighted that we have so many links with artists, with performers, with people involved in the art sector who are willing to work with us and recognize the opportunity of the Denis Hurley Centre as a platform for which to both learn about art and art. The Durban Film Festival came back to us after a COVID break, and we were pleased to be able to host them as part of the outreach program. And also our long-standing partner Ukuza, which is part of UKZN and their group of master's music students coming in every Saturday to teach guitar classes for free to anyone who wants to learn, and then providing concerts for our visitors. We had other groups wanting to make music for us. Here, for example, the Durban Chamber Choir sang in Emmanuel Cathedral on the occasion of what would have been Paddy Carney's 80th birthday, to celebrate him, and they sang a beautiful Monteverdi Mass in his honor. And by providing rehearsal opportunities for performers, those same performers, for example, this group that works with the wonderful choreographer Muzwa Chwayo, doing a drumming program with some of our staff and interns as a way of involving them. We've also been providing learning opportunities for artists. Here, for example, some fine art students from DUT who came in and were fascinated to look at the lines and the dimensions of our staircase to try and improve their skills in drawing perspective. And developing our own in-house artists. So this was a program led by two members of the Holy Family Congregation of Sisters, teaching some of the women in our project how to make cards from cut up paper, which we of course sell as a way of them making money. Throughout all of this presentation, I hope that you appreciate our desire to celebrate ourselves and to celebrate those people with whom we work and those people who support what we do. The art of gratitude is certainly not lost for us. One of the aspects of the Streetlit program that Illa Thompson has so successfully entrenched in the booksellers is the habit of gratitude, with regular events at their centre at St John's, thanking supporters here, thanking Mette Bunyan, one of the volunteers who works with them, and indeed one of the recipients of the Barry Wood Award in 2022. And St John's returned that favour in spades when they nominated Illa for an international award, the Order of St John, which she received and was bestowed on her by Archbishop Thabo Makgoba, the Archbishop of Cape Town, and the Grand Prior of the Order of St John in South Africa. The booksellers surrounding her are clearly delighted at the way in which she has been. We were also given an opportunity to celebrate others in the community. Here, Illa again with Sister Kathy were invited to be judges of the Women in the Community Awards organised by Lotus. And we get a chance to celebrate our own special people. For example, the young people in our creche graduating from the creche into primary school, getting a chance to dress up in graduation robes and be celebrated by their community, and making their day special here with Christmas gifts and indeed KFC lunch as a way of giving them a day to remember. And we had a beautiful moment during the course of 2022 where we were remembered by a legendary name in a legendary building. Here, Thembi Tambo, the High Commissioner for South Africa in London, in South Africa House, a place where there had for decades been demonstrations against the South African government as part of the anti-apartheid movement. Thembi Tambo is the daughter of Oliver and Adelaide Tambo, and as High Commissioner, she was welcoming the Dennis Hurley Association, our UK-based fundraising arm, who are celebrating their 10th anniversary as an organisation, and she welcomed them for a prestigious reception at South Africa House. And so many people involved in that fundraising over the years. Here on the left, Rabina Rafferty, the original founder of the Dennis Hurley Association, and on the right, Christine Allen, the new chief executive of CAFOD, the Catholic Fund for Overseas Development, who had worked so closely with Dennis Hurley and was so supportive of him back in the 80s and 90s. We also like to celebrate our staff and celebrate the holidays. Sister Colette, a Holy Family sister who is our praying partner, who always attends our management meetings and prays with us, dressed up as Mother Christmas to hand out gifts to our staff. And we continue our tradition every month of celebrating people who have birthdays in that month, so that through the course of the year, each person in the organisation is properly celebrated at least once. We also like to share the inspiration of others and share our inspiration with others. So as part of our Founders Day activities, we travelled up to the Valley of a Thousand Hills and visited the famous Wazamoya shop and the Hillcrest Aid Centre to hear from that organisation about the work they've been doing so wonderfully over many decades in helping some of the most marginalised people, and indeed who've worked with us providing respite care and hospice accommodation for people who we work with who are affected by HIV and AIDS. And on that occasion, at the Founders Day event, we announced the inauguration of a personal development bursary. This is an opportunity for every staff member who's been with the organisation for more than 6 months to apply once a year for 1,000 Rand grant, which they can use in any form of personal development. So two good examples here. Leanne used hers to go on a yoga retreat, whereas Jemima, who is the receptionist in our clinic, used hers to learn about hat making so that she could develop a side business making beautiful hats for people. Another way of honouring our founder was hosting the annual Paddy Carney Lecture, which is organised in collaboration with the Gandhi Memorial Trust and the Phoenix Development Trust. And the speaker at this year's, the 2022 Carney Lecture, was Praveen Gordhan, the famous minister in government who's held a number of very, very senior positions and had worked closely with Paddy back in the day when he was a pharmacist and a young activist in Durban, and through the period of his rise through the political structures of South Africa. So for fear of missing some people from this list, I'd like to publicly acknowledge so many partner organizations who have worked with us in 2022: faith partners, media partners, NGO partners, arts partners, educational partners, corporate partners, funding partners, government partners, and overseas partners, and of course the many, many individuals, too many to list, who've also supported our work as donors, as volunteers, and as people praying for us and supporting our work in other ways. And also to acknowledge and give thanks to the staff and the full-time volunteers who have made our work possible over the last year. And finally, a thank you to our trustees, old and new, because during the course of 2022, we said goodbye to some trustees and we welcomed some new ones. And it's wonderful that we have such a healthy and such a positive and skilled and experienced group of trustees who are willing to give their time completely for free to support the work of the Dennis Hurley Centre. So in closing, we asked the question, where will our learning journey go next? If we are learning from all these books and people and organisations, where are we heading to? Well, we certainly live, if I return to our Charles Dickens theme, we certainly live in hard times. And that was very noticeable in 2022 because it was the first year ever that we did not cover our costs within the year. So the money raised in 2022 was not enough to cover our costs. And there you see that we were able to draw on funds that we had rolled over from the sustainability appeal that we had made in 2020. And our forecast for the next few years, even without growing our services, our costs will go up because of the impact of inflation. And so the amount we need to raise will need to go up because our sustainability fund won't last forever. And we need to manage that well to act as a cushion between what we need to spend and what we're able to raise. But we have faith in you. We have faith in those of you who are listening to this presentation, who were present when we did it live in February 2023. We have faith in you and your commitment to continue to support us, to raise money for us, to work with us to deliver the life-saving and the life-changing services that we're able to deliver in the name of Archbishop Dennis Hurley. Thank you very much for listening.